artistically for me, this record has been a long time coming, in the sense that, obviously you mentioned my Broadway debut in 2015, but I have been, a musical theater. I grew up a musical theater kid all through school, high school, college, and always wanted to be able to make an album like this.
What's up, everyone? Tania here with popculture.com, and today we are welcoming one of my absolute favorites. She's an award-winning singer, songwriter, and actress, and this month her new record, Always Like New, releases June 25th. Miss Jennifer Nettles is here. Jennifer, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tania. Thanks for having me.
So, before we get started, just a little wellness check. Last we spoke was right when the pandemic hit, and you had just released your rendition of Tomorrow. So we are finally somewhat in our tomorrow now. So how have you been?
How have I been? I have been like everybody, which is a total wreck. It has been a year of anxieties, of ambiguous loss and tangible loss of sleep, of loss of security. I mean, like just so much. What a year. And not to mention, the confrontations of the ugly realities of racial and social injustice that continue to persist. I mean, like, we could go on. And at the same time, what a year then now, as we begin to step out of it, of opportunity, even as we walk into the world safely and albeit softly right now,
Of course. And, you've had such a productive and notable 2020. Now we're gearing up for an even bigger 2021 with your new record, which pays homage to Broadway. And we had amazing news just like, this last couple of months that Broadway's reopening. So I got to get your take on this, because finally we're back into this little bit of normalcy. How are you feeling? What were your initial thoughts?
I mean, look, I believe Broadway is such an iconic American institution. Never before, it was only closed down for one day at 9/11. Okay, it has never closed down in any world wars. So the symbolism of Broadway shutting down and the message that is to us and to the world, because here's the thing, Broadway is known all across the world. Yes, you can get good theater on the West End, but there's nothing like Broadway in the whole world. Like, how many songs have been written not only for it, but about it, okay? So for it to be shut down has been super, super symbolic. And even on this record, the last day that we recorded, this little behind the scenes, but the last day of recording this record happened to be March 12th, 2020. And I finished singing the last note of the last song, which was Tomorrow, ironically, and then we put it last on the tracking list of the record. And all of our phones lit up saying Broadway was officially shutting down. Okay. So for this to be reopening now, and for this album to get to be sort of like the celebratory flag waving and being so excited, leading the way for all of the beauty that's about to be celebrated again on these stages, is super special to me.
Yeah. And, you appeared in the Broadway production of Chicago in 2015 as Roxy. And, here we are today with this gorgeous album. So what made you want to release it now versus before? Because you are so talented and you do love Broadway so much that it just was it just a culmination of everything right before? How did this come to be?
I mean, artistically for me, this record has been a long time coming, in the sense that, obviously you mentioned my Broadway debut in 2015, but I have been, a musical theater. I grew up a musical theater kid all through school, high school, college, and always wanted to be able to make an album like this. So for me, it's been a long time coming, artistically and vocally and musically, no pun intended. But the timing specifically then, after it was recorded, for now is not lost on me. Again, the symbolism of Broadway reopening, the world softly reopening in a way that we can, go out and celebrate the things that we love again. And I hope this record is included in that.
Yeah. And let's talk about the new record, Always Like You, because you are singing these quintessential classics from Guys and Dolls, Annie, Oklahoma, and then of course some of the newer ones like Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen. So what is the story behind choosing these specific songs for you?
I mean, first and foremost, so there's so much material to choose from, so much fantastic material to choose from. So Alex Lacamoire, who was my arranging and producing collaborator and partner on this album, we really had very specific criteria for what it was and how we chose these songs. And that criteria was this, that every song on the record had to pay respectful homage to the original composition, while at the same time reimagining and rearranging it in such a way that allows for a discovery, anew, in a different way for these songs. So if there were some songs that we tried that, for example, weren't rearranged enough to be able to have a new discovery, right? So we made sure that combination of both of those criteria that was met.
Yeah, and let's talk about Alex for a minute, because he does such a great arrangement with this on this record with you. And I have to sing your praises on Hamilton's "Wait For It," because I love Hamilton, and I always I'm very protective of things I love, but you are so creative, and it's very opposite in the sound to the original arrangement. And I know you love Hamilton too, and you gave it like this very sort of like, you said like I think it was like a spooky sort of swampy vibe. Yeah.
Yes.
So working with Alex, like, who also, for those who don't know, he's the musical director of Hamilton, what was it?
Hansen and the movie The Greatest Showman, and the movie coming out right now, In the Heights, this summer.
Yeah. Yes. So what was it like telling him that you got this idea to rearrange such a popular and beloved track? Because like Wait For It is it's such a song that it's like very empowering, and it's very strong and sturdy. So like for you to change it into this thing that sounds so like, I got goosebumps hearing, and I was like, wow, it's so good. So tell me, how does that conversation go?
So we knew a couple of things. We knew that we wanted to have contemporary theater represented, and what is better to represent what is happening right now in current theater than Hamilton as an example, right? I mean, it has been a cultural phenomenon and has really changed the world, not only the world of musical theater. Mm-hmm. That being said, we wanted to represent a song from that show. Musically on this album, we also knew that we wanted to have something that had that spooky sort of drone-y vibe on it, right? Really smooth. Yeah. So whenever we started talking about it, it was his idea to actually look at Wait For It. And especially for Hamilton, considering that he is the original orchestrator and arranger, I wanted to be supremely respectful of how I envisioned that. And kudos to him, because often things that we're closest to, we have the hardest time reimagining. And he is so talented and gifted. He did not have a hard time with this at all. He could hear that. He could hear the spookiness, hear the drone, and the song really took on a new life of its own.
Mm-hmm. And in that whole vein, like, is it harder singing something that's a perennial classic, more open for interpretation years later, or versus like putting a spin on something newer, like, Wait For It, or even You Will Be Found in Dear Evan Hansen?
I mean, you just said yourself of how precious that you can be about things that you love. And the musical theater community of fans, they are very much, and rightfully so, very precious of the material that they love. So obviously walking toward everything with complete respect. That being said, sometimes it can be more intimidating to reinterpret something that is still current and that is on people's minds in the present. That can have its own level of intimidation. But at the same time, wanting to be able to include this fantastic material was inspiration enough to be able to break through that intimidation and to feel like, okay, yes, let's give it a try.
Yeah. So what do you want fans to take away from this new record? Because I mean, I was listening to like the little snippets, and like, it's just so good, and I was getting goosebumps listening to it, and it's just so beautiful, and you do such a beautiful, like, wonderful job. So what should fans be expecting, and what should they take away from it?
Well, first of all, I want them to take joy in the music itself. For those who know and love the form and know and love the genre, I hope that they take a joy of rediscovery of these songs. And for those who don't, I hope that those fans are reminded. For those who don't and may not know this material, I hope they get the joy of first discovery in a way that may possibly they may not have ever given it a chance before, but when they hear this in the ways that they've been so wonderfully rearranged, that they are able to get excited about.
So Broadway is opening, and I have to ask, are you going to take part in anything? Is there any project that we should be looking out for with you wanting to be on Broadway again?
I mean, look, obviously right now what is happening in terms of everybody wanting to get back on those stages with the productions, especially that were already in play, some of which that were just opening, that literally were like, Six was like, hey, we opened and we closed down, So I think, for any of those projects that can come back and get on those stages and breathe life again into those rooms, Like, let's let that happen and celebrate it. For me, I am, in terms of, although this is a long time, will be a long time coming, just because musicals take a long time, I am writing a new original musical. And I've written actually much of it over this pandemic year, when I had time to, number one, not only focus on it, but number two, really needed to dive into a different world besides the one in which we were living. So it was an escape for me, and that escape ended up being very prolific. But so be on the lookout for that as that comes about in the next few seasons.
Yeah. And, shifting gears just a bit to Sugarland, you and Christian, everybody loves you. Are we getting new music and possible tour in the fall or anything? Like, I heard little tidbits of things happening.
Yeah, not in the fall right now. I have a kid getting back into school, and school in person, which is a big deal after a year of remote learning. So yeah, that's going to definitely be the focus, at least then. And I'm only one person, so while I love all of these projects in my heart and can hold them, there at the same time, I can only be in one place at one time. Right. So I'll be making the choices to hopefully I'll be able to tour this Always Like New album. And we'll see what will happen between now and the end of the year.
And before I do let you go, I'm having so much fun. I always love talking to you. I know that you are starring in The Righteous Gemstones, and they are back for season 2, and you play Amélie Gemstone, and she's just so funny, and there's so much story to tell with her. So can you tease what fans can expect with her in season 2, especially in the Back Blacks, or are we not really? Is that all under wraps?
I mean, look, everything, if you've seen season 1, the beautiful part of season 2 is not only for the fans, but also, in terms of the production, everything has just been elevated. The writing has been elevated. I had the pleasure of a couple of months ago going and shooting the couple of episodes that I'm in for this next season, which is on HBO starting in October. The second season will be out. But more of the same absolute madness, crazy, raunchy, irreverent hilarity will ensue, I will say, in this season for sure.
Well, we're so excited. And Jennifer, I'm so excited for you and everything you've got going on. Thank you for continuing to always bear your heart and just use your voice, most importantly, for everything that you do. It's so crucial. So thank you so much. And guys, Jennifer Nettles' new album, Always Like New, releases June 25th at all digital and music retailers. For more with Jennifer, her music, and all things entertainment, keep it locked to popculture.com for the latest.